This is Mary Byers with Associations Today. My guest is Moira Edwards, president of Ellipsis Partners. Her company helps provide technology expertise and help to associations so that they can be confident in their technology decisions. And we're going to dive right into today's interview. Moira, technology comes up a lot in the strategic planning sessions that I facilitate, but it comes up as this big giant word of technology, and often we really don't know what that means. Based on your work with associations, what are three areas that staff should be thinking about when they run across this whole technology issue?
Great, Mary. Great question. And so interesting to be talking about this because I think it's really much easier for associations to manage technology when they think about it in three levels. So imagine a pyramid, and the base of the pyramid, the foundational level, is really technology as operations. Do things work? Does my laptop work? Can I send an email? Can I open a file and edit it? So that foundational area of technology, that operational area, is one key thing they need to think about. The next level up is technology as a service. Are my staff effective in their work? Are they able to get the information they need? Are they able to put the information into systems that they need? Or are they using lots of workarounds? And then are my members happy? Are they able to join and renew online? Are they able to register for events? So that's technology as a service. That's a real broad chunk of the pyramid. But then at the very top, there's technology as a driver of member value. So in your own book, Race for Relevance, there was a story about the Carolinas contractors who had built custom software to allow their members to have a much more streamlined and quicker bidding process. So they had developed custom software that their members found really valuable. And so that really drove member value. And we see that some organizations are able to, some associations develop their own software, but others are really just using tools that are available, but they're using them in a way that's so important to their members. Online communities can serve that purpose. We see that if they are using online communities to really solve a problem, they can really take off. So I think when you are dealing particularly with a board, you don't really need them to be thinking about the operations at the bottom. That's kind of internal stuff. Many organizations are going to outsource that. You are going to have them think a little bit about technology as a service because they provide that member perspective about whether members are happy with how they're being served. But strategically, you would really want them to think about technology and how it provides member value and advances the mission of the organization. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, and I love how you've simplified it with those three levels because I think it's easier to think of it in those terms. And I was recently with a group that was really asking the question, so the top of the pyramid, they were asking, how could we invent the Uber for our association, or how could we do an app that's the Angie's List for our organization? So it is helpful to think in those terms, and innovation, I think, really comes at the top of the pyramid. And as you mentioned, that's where we can enhance member value. And when we enhance member value, we don't have to beg members to be members. People will come to us at the door. So when you think about associations that have looked at that pyramid and then have focused their efforts in the second and third level, what kind of mistakes do you see them making as they're adapting technology for the organization?
So I think associations, when they think about technology, often think about it as one big thing. And so therefore, they hand all of it off to the tech guys and gals. And so really, though, what they're thinking about technology's operations, and they're not really realizing how much of technology needs to be driven by the programmatic staff, by the board, by the leadership, by the program directors. Those that are doing it really well, their technology stars are often people who are program people, who are at conferences, who are really deeply listening to the problems that members have. If you're a large association and you have a CIO, my recommendation is you go to your technology conferences, you go to the Gartner CIO Symposium, but you go to your member conferences and you hear them talk about their daily lives. You go on site visits to your members and you watch them work. And then you keep up with emerging trends in technology. And then that innovation is often, it's a synthesis of this problem plus this tool that nobody else has connected before. But if you have the right person in the right place with the right mindset, so it's kind of a creative thing, you have to, there's a little bit of magic to it, unfortunately, but that's what innovation is. You know, Steve Jobs is not somebody who's easy to replicate. There's a little bit of magic to really good innovation, but you can foster it. You can foster it by putting people with the right mindsets in the right places with the right knowledge. And then you start to think, how do I solve this problem that they don't even know I can solve for them? But I can do it because I'm an association, we have certain resources, we are all of us together, so therefore I can come at it from a different perspective and I can solve that problem for them.
Well, part
the top of the pyramid.
Yeah, as you mentioned, part of it is the listening piece of it. If we're so busy doing and we're not pausing enough to listen, and the second thing you said was we need to be asking that question, what are the problems? How can we solve those problems? And that does become a mindset. One of the areas that I see associations moving into aggressively is learning management systems. So if that terminology is floating around my association, it's coming down the pike for us, what do we need to be thinking about?
Oh, very good, because learning management systems, there are a lot of them out there, literally hundreds and thousands of them, because so many organizations, either internally or externally, are providing learning and tracking that. Organizations that do it well, first of all, they've become really clear about the format and the goal of that learning. So there's a big difference between providing a recorded webinar through perhaps having an interactive module where people are maybe doing quizzes as part of that module, to like a fully online interactive course with an instructor where maybe a class meets online. So knowing the format, and that really ties into your curriculum and your goals for learning. So knowing that format will really inform what kind of system you would go for. I think the other thing you would want to think about is how much you're supporting some formal continuing education process. If really you're offering professional development without any CE credits, many platforms will suit you. But if you want to at least award credits, then your platform needs to support the issuing of certificates. And if you, however, maybe support a certification or licensure, you can have very stringent reporting because you're an accredited provider of continuing education towards that licensure. So you want a platform that supports you reporting how many people have attempted the test. Did they test in? Did they test out? What questions, had what kind of pass rates? So the continuing education is a big part. And I think really a key thing is how well systems integrate with your current technology. We've seen some really lovely learning management systems out there that integrate very well with online communities, with existing AMSs, association management systems, and they're sending data back and forth. Maybe you have the ability to incorporate a community chat in your webinar seamlessly. Maybe you have the ability to broadcast the webinar within your community. So these are emerging technologies, but as AMSs and LMSs are taking these seriously and developing those. So you would want to figure out what works well with your current setup so that you really minimize your pain while maximizing your ability to deliver.
So part of it's compatibility, but part of it is also sitting down and figure out what you really want to do and at what level you want to do it. And then that kind of goes back to the programmatic piece. What is it that we need to do? And then communicating with the IT department in making sure that there is compatibility and that you can meet all of the goals. As we wrap up here, what are a couple of emerging areas in the technology arena that association executives should know about?
You know, it's mobile, but it's everything that goes with mobile. I mean, really, I know we think sometimes our members are a bit old-fashioned or behind the curve, but everybody has a smartphone. And if I can go to the movies or get on a plane and just, get on by scanning my phone, I should be able to do that at your conference too. So there's some basic things like that. But, if people do have smartphones, there are lots that you can do. If you have information that you are currently using your website or printed materials to deliver, and it's really compelling information that your members access a lot, that's where you need to be having an app, because that's where they want that information on their phone. I think everybody needs to have a meeting app at this stage. But also there's some really interesting things. So I have a 13-year-old son, so we went out and we played Pokemon Go. And I'm looking through my phone and I'm seeing the sidewalk in front of me, and I'm seeing this Pokemon sitting on the sidewalk in front of me, and I'm trying to flick this ball towards it to catch it. So that's what they call augmented reality, where on top of what's real, you're seeing something imposed upon it. Well, Yelp is using that so that if you point your phone at a restaurant, they'll tell you the reviews. So imagine if your members, let's say your members were higher education institutions, and so some student or prospective student held their phone up to a building and it said, "Oh, that's the Murray building, and that's where you'll find the library for the law library." So there's a lot that you can do. I think if we assume that people are carrying incredible technology around with them, that's a huge emerging opportunity. But the other thing I will say, the other big thing people have to pay attention to is security. Just as much as we have financial controls, we need to pay attention to technology security. And for most of us, what that means is hire an expert to put controls in place, and then hire another expert to do an audit on a regular basis. And then so that's what you really need to be thinking about. Just like you have somebody who's responsible for putting financial controls in place and an external company that does an audit, just think about technology security in the same way, and it's not as scary.
Lots of food for thought there, Moira. Really appreciate it. I knew this would be a great conversation, and I really appreciate you making time to talk with me today. I would also like to thank my producer, Partners. If you're looking for an online learning system, I suggest you give them a call or visit them online at compartners.com.